Hello folks, happy Sunday to you. I am Lee and I am here to talk about hypnosis, to talk about ASMR a little bit today, to do hypnosis later on, to chat with you, to say hello and thank you for being here, and to have a lovely, relaxing time. In case you are a YouTube member, I'm just going to let folks know that I am working on a 5-part series that's coming out this year. I'm recording parts of it live on camera for YouTube members, so I'm trying to record that on either Saturdays or Sundays. I'm not quite sure. I do it when I have time, but Sundays has been when I've more been able to do it before this one. So if you are that, you can see it, those, and if you're not, eventually you'll be able to hear it. It will be released through Patreon and or for patrons through Patreon, and hopefully you'll enjoy it while it's there. So this has been a crazy kind of week. I was not here last week because I was off I was off finishing a quilt. I used to quilt all the time. I used to teach quilting classes. It's great fun. And I haven't done it for a while. So I thought I'd start out simple, and I cut up some fabric and sew it together and start making a quilt. So as it turns out, I had enough for 2 quilts, not just for the top, the pattern on the top. And I finished the one top. I brought it with me, and I had like the backing fabric and the batting sent to a friend. And we put it all together, and they did the long arming, which is what it's called when you have a frame that you sandwich all the parts together. You put the back and the batting and the top all together. And then you have this machine with a very long arm or neck. So if you've ever sewn something, the needle comes down on one side and then goes up and over, and then there's like the motor on the other side. And then there's like gears and not pipes, but rods that everything attaches to. It makes the needle go up and down, etc., etc. So if the longer that arm is, the more fabric you can shove under there. So if you have a long arm, you can do fancy designs on the top. That's what they call it, the long arming, is all those fancy designs on the top. Sometimes people go and do spirals, for example. Sometimes it's just a bunch of straight lines. This was a bunch of meandering lines, and then I sewed I cut everything down to size, and then I sewed a binding on it. And it looked pretty good. Now I have one more to go, and we'll see how that all works out. You're not here for quilts, though, but hi. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to stop talking about quilts, although I am a huge fan of the cozy, and I like when you listen to something or you watch something and you find yourself feeling like really comforted and really happy about that. So maybe we'll do something today that brings in some of that happy feeling and that cozy feeling with our trance. Alternately, I'm probably going to bring back out some shiny things because I have them and I know you like them, and we'll probably do some ASMR kind of things. I don't know exactly what, but I did bring a few additional things in here that I thought might be fun to listen to. And hopefully your brain really likes those sounds. Somebody suggested that I make you more sensitive to the ASMR type things that you hear. I think it's kind of fascinating. People can be made more or less sensitive to all sorts of things, which is great, right? So if, for example, you are so ticklish that you cannot get a massage because it's too tickly for you, but your back is really tight and you would like one, you can adjust your level of sensitivity so that you can get a massage and get it, so it's therapeutic for you as opposed to being torture for you. If you have ever had, a feeling of anxiety or anxiousness or something like that, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, you can make that better and better and better, which is to say, instead of increasing the amount of whatever that you feel, you can decrease the amount of something that you feel if you don't want to feel it. Or you can find yourself feeling something that is, I don't know, altogether different. If you can feel more pleasure, you can feel less. If you can feel less, you can feel more. If you can enjoy something or hate something, you can swap those around. There are sometimes people who they want to like a thing and they don't actually like a thing, but they really want to, and they're like, I wish I liked this thing more than I do. Like, say, for example, exercise. You can find a way to allow your brain to change its position on something. Now, sometimes it works with something called reframing, and a reframe is simply a different way to look at something. It's putting, for example, a problem or an idea into a different light, into a different frame, using a different metaphor. Excuse me. And sometimes that works really, really well. Sometimes people need to see things in an entirely different way or feel things in an entirely different way to notice that they can experience a change. And sometimes people understand that something that they've tried to do a thing, like, I keep doing this thing over and over and over again. I feel a compulsion to do this thing repeatedly. And I really wish I didn't have that compulsion to do this thing. And you can actually adjust those compulsions to do or to not do things as well, too. Works for things like procrastination. It works for things like getting tasks and chores done. It could work for all sorts of things. So if you have ideas, you want to see or feel shiny things more intently. I've definitely made audios about that. And I can talk about that a little bit, right? About how something shiny catches your eye really casually and really effortlessly. But, it's not just this kind of shiny, right? Like, that's a pretty shiny. I don't even have the lights on here as brightly as they could be. And I don't even have, I could put this light on too. Let's see. I could give this thing its own light. That might be better. Kind of reflective back at you. So when you find yourself seeing something shiny, for example, your brain before, like, you might be a magpie. I'm kind of a magpie, right? That idea that shiny things catch your eye. But instead of just sort of noticing when they're really obvious, your brain could start to begin to notice things when they're not quite as in your face. They could start noticing things even if, for example, the light is turned off. You could start noticing things in a more subtle way that find that they impact you pretty strongly anyway. So what are the sorts of things that your brain, yes, the shiny magic ring starts. What are the sorts of things that you find yourself really liking when it comes to the shiny things? Does your brain know and understand just how good it feels to see them? Right? And when your brain thinks about the shiny things, how does that make you feel internally? Like, does it make you feel like you're going into trance? Does it make you feel like you want to be more obedient? Does it make you feel as though you need to pay attention to what's being said, even if you only do that on an unconscious level? Because that might be what works out for you, that you find yourself doing these things on an unconscious level, and then you wonder why, you have a pocket full of, for example, change and or bits of shiny things that you end up sticking in your pocket. I don't know. You have to let me know how your brain responds and reacts to that. But however your brain responds and reacts, you might notice that shiny things just make you feel really good. Whether or not you have the time to stop and stare at them, you might realize that your unconscious mind is simply paying attention to all the shiny things. Maybe you catch them out of the corner of your eye, right? Like maybe it's just over there and it like sort of winks and you can't turn your head to look at them. You just have to stay straight ahead. But that thing, that shiny thing, is just right there. And as that shiny thing is right there, your brain just remembers that you have this shiny thing that you saw, and it sort of captures it, right? I liken it to like a little drop in the bucket, right? And it feels really good. You don't even have to think about that on that conscious level, because your unconscious mind can know that anytime you see something shiny, you get like a little drop in this bucket, and every drop is something that makes you feel really good. And even if you can't experience those really good feelings from seeing a shiny thing at any given moment, your unconscious mind can know when a better moment is. So it just captures everything in that bucket or that cup or however that goes. And then as you find yourself going on, you notice that at some point in time, when you have the time, your brain can let you see something, say, ultra shiny. Maybe it's a mirror. Maybe you come in from work and you like go to the bathroom, wash your hands, and you look up and you're like, oh, that mirror is really shiny. And then all of a sudden, all the good feelings just like get dumped on your head because your unconscious mind is like, oh, now's a perfect time to let you feel really good, right? It could happen. Let your brain think about how that might happen best for you and where you might find yourself wanting to feel that sense of goodness and that sense of, oh, this feels so much better than I expected. Yeah, shiny and reflective. Like I can't even tell you how many shiny and reflective things I have because I have quite a number of them. I have like tank tops or bodysuits that have like stars on them, and shirts that have shirts that have stars on them. And I have shiny jackets. And I have like a shiny silver bodysuit with a hood. And I have a backpack that has those panels on it. They're not super shiny, but they do change color, so it's a little holographic. And that's kind of fun to think about. I have shiny shoes. I sometimes have shiny nails, but not today. But all of these things, you can just know they just add up, right? Like they capture your attention. They feel really good. And when somebody wears something shiny and reflective and your brain captures it, you just take some of that. Your brain just like captures a little bit of that shiny, pops it in your bucket, and then everything about that feels really good. And the more you find yourself in this state of realizing that there are just shiny things all over the place. Ooh, this is my light, which I accidentally turned on. However, I just realized that it's got more shine to it, right? It changes colors too. So if I want different shades of things, I can have that. But I don't need it on right now because it makes it kind of warm in here. But you can see the shiny here and the shiny there. I guess this is technically a little shiny, but not in the same way. Not in that, oh my goodness, look how shiny that is. It's reflective, it's mirror. It's kind of nice to look at. And your brain can think about how good it feels to notice that around your space right now, there might even be shiny things. And the shiny things that are around your space, they could remind you of how good it feels to be deeply entranced. They could remind you of how important it is for you to find yourself being a good subject. They could remind you that the more you see shiny things and the more you allow your unconscious mind to simply respond, it could get better and better, right? So how can you allow your unconscious self to go, yes, I like seeing shiny things. I like when they capture my attention. I like knowing that if now is an inappropriate time to respond, that my brain is just going to hold on to those feelings, that idea that I saw something shiny and what that means, which is that I can capture that and I can feel even better next time. Let your brain get to that point where it just feels so much better, where when you see shiny things, your unconscious mind goes, I'm going to capture that. I'm going to take those feelings, I'm going to put them in a bucket or in a cup, and then when it's appropriate and safe to do so, they're just going to flow down over me. I'm going to feel so good when those ideas about all the shiny things that I saw come back to me, when my brain remembers that all those shiny things that I saw, I really love to see, and that when you find yourself seeing them, you can feel how very good that is to just keep noticing that your brain gets better and better at noticing the shiny things, at allowing you to respond to them if it's safe and appropriate to do so. You know, if you were, say, out walking in a park, and there was a fountain. It's a really lovely sunny day, right? And the water is all like, you know, the mist is rising up and the water is kind of sparkly with the sunlight and the water droplets hitting it and the mist all around. Like, that might be the kind of thing that you found yourself looking at. And it feels really good to know that your unconscious mind can think about how appropriate something might be to experience in any given moment. How I could probably stare at certain things like that and just sort of bliss out for 5 or 10 minutes. And maybe you find yourself saying, oh, I should sit down while I do this. And you notice you're not like having to close your eyes, obviously. If you're looking at something, you can go into trance with your eyes wide open. And it can feel really great to go into trance with your eyes wide open because you're aware of other things, or you can be aware of other things, but you're focused on that one thing right in front of you. In this case, maybe it's this, right? And the more you find yourself focused on that one thing unconsciously, you know, or maybe even focus consciously, your unconscious can also pay attention to this and how good it makes you feel and can boost how good that makes you feel. And then your brain can allow you to notice that there are other things around you that maybe complement this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would ever use just a color as a trigger. I mean, we use, you know, red, yellow, green as our stoplight system. And so maybe that's not the best idea ever. But if there was maybe a really specific color that you wanted to tie to a specific thing, you could do that. You know, like the color of this sweatshirt will blah, 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 whatever you. So your brain could do that sort of thing. I'm not a big fan of that type of thing. I don't really care. I like doing spontaneous things. Like my partner likes to try to tickle me. I'm not ticklish, but they are. So sometimes I tell them that they are going to just try to tickle me, but it's going to be tickling themselves. And they're such a good subject. Guess what? They can't stop tickling me, and yet they are laughing ridiculously hard because they feel all the tickles that I just can't feel, which I think is super cute and fun. And maybe you like to do that sort of thing too, you know. Maybe you make it so that, or maybe you like it so that, like, if it was you being tickled, like, you couldn't move. I think that's fun to be able to tickle somebody and to not have them be able to move. Or one of my favorites was to not be able to make them touch my hands, so they couldn't like pull my hands to pull them away. I like playful kind of hypnosis in real life like that, and I think that's kind of fun. Yeah, if I was going to do that, I might more associate it with the shape or the, you know, the image itself as opposed to the color. And I say that because there are a lot of people that have differences of opinion over what color things are. Because some people see colors in different ways than other people do. And just personally speaking, I would rather not have discussions about things like that. Mostly because I have, I think, in all the tests I've taken on like color perception, pretty good color identification ability, even between very similar shades. Not everyone does, and so I wouldn't want something to get like messed up just in case somebody saw something that I did not see. So I don't usually do triggers that are color, which is, I guess, good since I'm holding this ring and there's all sorts of crazy colors in this thing, right? And whether or not you find yourself wishing that I was to put this closer and closer to the camera, or if your unconscious mind is simply taking all the shinies that you see from this ring and the way it's moving around and the way the facets catch the light, and maybe all the colors that you see there, that your brain can begin to know what it feels like to either allow all these colors right now to just keep pouring down those good feelings onto you and into you and through you. Or maybe your brain's like, no, I want to test that out. I want to see if I can notice how many different shiny things I can see in this whole video, and then at the end I'm going to let my brain just dump all those onto me and notice how good that feels. However you want to do it is all for you. Oh, so this morning they went to boop my nose, and then they were going to be cheeky and rude and like, instead of like just booping it, right, they were going to like lift it up, and I was like, no. I said no, and I said, whichever you decide to do. If you want to boop my nose, you can boop my nose. But if you think you're going to do the other thing to my nose, you have to do it to your own. Which is funny because they say boop or bloop every single time. And I just thought that was kind of hilarious. I like the idea that they're just so very good at obeying. And I bet that your partner likes that about you booping their nose too, that it boops yours. So I guess, I only have so much of a sense of humor. And I only like so many things. There's some things I definitely don't care for. So I find it fun to be able to play around like that, just for the fun of it. So, all right. So what would you like to find yourself doing today? I know I have a bunch of kind of ASMR sounding things. They're all similar, right? That's similar to this. That sounds absolutely dreadful, John, that you can only focus on the kaleidoscope of colors. There's this. There's this one. Do I need two hands for this? Maybe. That was this, in case you wanted something else to look at. I think that the tingly sounds is what makes a difference between the people that really respond to ASMR and the people that don't, right? Because there's something about, so if you really respond to ASMR, you get those tingles, right, at the back of your neck. Get them back here, and they kind of like go up your spine, but really up and down your neck. And I think that the more you find yourself in that state of noticing that you get a little tingle from the sounds, the stronger that can become, the more interesting it feels. And I think that you could do that to yourself. Like, it might be a little harder if you have like long hair, but I think you could, like take your finger or your fingernail and just like lightly run it up there and see if that makes you shiver, see if that makes you feel tingly. And if it does make you feel tingly, if it does give you the shivers, goosebumps, all those things, if it does make you feel those things, you can find yourself giving into it a little bit more. I'm never quite sure what the best sound is going to be for that sort of thing. I do quite like metal sounds, like this one. I do like the chains. I think I thought I had an opened one here, but let's see. I don't know what it is about the sound of metal on metal, even like delicate metal. I also really like, not all, but some wind chimes. When the wind is blowing just right and they all hit each other and they make those noises, the musical noises. And the more your brain listens to these types of sounds, or the ones that you like best. Like, I don't have one in here, but sometimes people take like a hairbrush, or this is one of my favorites too. Because you can make all sorts of different noises with this, right? And the can sounds different based on what's in it. This one's pretty empty, so. Does it matter the speed that something's going at? I don't have any cork here, but I do have. Does that sound similar, David? I also have my mic has a foam cover over it. So that may impact. But if I run my fingers over that foam cover, or if I tap on it. Yeah, Roman, I guess I am doing ASMR today. But I'm probably also going to do some hypnosis if people would like to do some. I mean, I did a little bit earlier, but, you know. I don't know if tapping... See how that picks up? I think what would be fun would be to have a whole library of sounds, right? Like the people that do voiceovers, they make all these funny noises, only you could do it with just this, and then when you need that same sound, like, you know, a lion roaring or something, or I might switch hands with this. Let's see how that goes. I have no idea how that sounds, David, so I can't tell if the tapping was effective or not. You have to let me know, because and if this is not your cup of tea, I get it, because I feel like it's sort of it's sort of like if you don't have that AMSR response, right? If you don't have it, if you don't get those tingles, you could probably get those tingles, but if you don't have that tingle response, it can be hard for somebody to go, oh, I am totally there, I understand it. And I think that one of the nice things about whispering when you do this is that it helps intensify the sound of the sounds. And then if you intensify the sound of the sounds, it could feel really interesting. But if you intensify the way something sounds, maybe it affects how you find yourself responding to it. This is a heavy piece of metal, heavy enough. And then what if I took like yeah, I don't expect that I'm going to be doing this for too much longer. I feel like it's a little more challenging. Like I'd want to have a whole bunch of things all laid out, and in here, most of my things are meant to shine. So let's go back to doing some hypnosis, shall we? And maybe I'll do some whispering instead, and you'll just get to look at the lovely shine. Oh, look how pretty that is. And you can notice what that feels like to just look at this and to find yourself dropping down more deeply. And how about if there's something that you would like to find yourself responding more or less strongly to? I don't know what that is, but I'm going to talk about anchoring, and we'll make that happen for you, hopefully. So we're going to use a little slider. I usually use like the back of my wrist and go up or down. Well, up the arm and back down to the wrist. That's how I do it. So this is like your baseline. This is higher. You could go up to your shoulder, to the top of your head if you want. You don't have to. You only need a little piece. But while you find yourself looking at this, I'd like you to find yourself thinking about something that you would like to adjust. You would like to do more of or less of. If you want to do more of something, you're going to start here. If you want to do less of something, you're going to start here or here, however much skin you've got, right? So find yourself thinking, while you look at this shiny, or while you close your eyes and listen to the sound of my voice, about one thing that you would like to find yourself responding differently to. You want to find yourself responding more strongly or less strongly. It doesn't matter what it is, but once you have it, just go to yourself, say, yep, this is it. This is the thing I'm gonna adjust today. I'm gonna learn to adjust it today. And when you find yourself with that thing that you know is the thing you're gonna adjust today, you can keep looking at the shiny thing if your eyes are open. You can blink when you need to. Remember to blink when you need to. And your brain can think about a time when you felt that thing that you would like to increase or decrease. So if you want to increase that thing, your brain starts right here at your wrist, and you find yourself, you know, when you think about the strongest you've ever felt that thing, you can think about absolutely everything that goes along with that. You can find yourself thinking about how you felt, what sounds were around you, what you were doing, the brightness, the colors, what you saw, what you felt, inside and externally. So if it was a really cool day or a hot day, if things were moving, like if you felt internally like things were moving, just let your brain bring all of those things back. And you just tap right here. And you want to make that feeling, those sensations stronger. Like you felt something and it was really good, but it was momentary or it was weak, right? So you remember it as strongly as you can, with as much as you possibly can in detail, and you make that as vivid as you can. You make it big, bright, bold. You move it right to your face, right? Like it'd be like I moved this right to your face, but you're going to move the thing that you'd like to feel even more strongly or right to your face. And you start here. If you want to make something less obnoxious for you, whatever that is, it starts out usually here, right? It's already big and bright and bold. And you're going to move it away, and you're going to start down here. You're going to put that here. And so if you make something better, and it's big and bright and bold, and you want to make it even better, so you can make it bigger and bigger and bigger and brighter, right? And it's so amazing. And you can tap here and then move it up. And as you find yourself going from there to here, it's literally, you're going up your arm, right? From your wrist to your elbow, you make it stronger every time you go up. So you just make it big and bright and bold and happy, and it makes it feel so good. And you go from here and you move your hand up, and it feels even better. And if you want to get rid of something, you pull it away, and you start from here, and then you drop it down. And you can use more than one hand. You can use your whole, more than one finger. You can use your whole hand and just like whoosh, get rid of it. You can feel like you're moving it down, like you're dropping that down, like you are taking that stereo dial and just turning it all the way down. You're taking that mixer and just turning it from, say, 10 down to 2 or 1 or off, if you can do that. And you just let your brain make that happen. So whichever way you want to go, allow your unconscious mind to think about how you can do that. Let your brain think about how fascinating and good it is to let that happen. And the more you find yourself in that state of just letting that happen, the better you feel as you have more and more control over whatever that is that you'd like to adjust and change. So if something starts here, and you can make it feel better and better by going to here, whatever that happens to be, right? You can tell yourself, I'm going to take this sensation, the one that you just rose that up to, right? This feels really good, but I want to feel that as my baseline for when I experience this thing, whatever it happens to be. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to move it right down here, and then we're going to make it even better, right? Find your brain testing that out. Whatever that is that you wanted to make better, you start here and you go up to there and you say, okay, brain, we're going to move this feeling, those sensations, we're going to take all those, we're going to move them down here, and we're just going to whoosh, make that even better. And you can do the same thing in reverse to just keep letting go of a sensation. You can just keep feeling what that's like to just let go of a sensation to make something feel better. If you find that you get, I don't know, an anxious feeling in your stomach. What if it feels like your stomach is churning? Imagine it going the other way. Imagine it more slowly churning, turning. You got butterflies in your stomach, send in some nets. Take them away if they're not serving you well. Let your brain think about how good that feels. Let your brain understand how fun that can be to play around with those things, to make yourself feel something better and more strongly, or to get rid of something that is causing you problems. However you find yourself doing that, just let your unconscious mind think about that and think about what it feels like to find yourself in some calm, easy state where you can handle whatever comes your way. That's a fascinating thing to think about, right? Like, what does that even mean for you? How do you find yourself responding to things? If you're a hothead, can you imagine if you could unconsciously feel like every single part of your body was just put into one of those, say, walk-in coolers, and all of a sudden, like, it's a really hot day and you go into one of those walk-in coolers and all of a sudden there's this like chill over your body, and all of a sudden you're not hot and sweaty anymore, and maybe your brain cools down enough for you to think a little bit more rationally. That's a kind of fascinating thing. Also, sometimes when we get super emotional, you want to move things from one side of your body to the other. You want to follow that with your eyes, right? It's easy to look at that, right? So if you're feeling really emotional about something, you can find yourself swapping something back and forth. You can follow it with your eyes. You can go in a box if you wanted to. You can go in a figure eight if you wanted to. However you want to do it. And then you can come back to center. And you can notice that you feel really calm and really centered. In fact, let your brain think about what that feels like. To notice that the way that you find yourself responding to different things in different situations can be easily controlled by you as to how you want to feel and how you want to make things happen. And you can tell your unconscious mind that you like behaving like this instead of like this or like that. You can tell your brain, I want to behave like this, or right around here, right somewhere in the middle. I want to behave like that. It makes me feel better. This is better for me. And make sure your unconscious mind goes, okay, from now on, you can respond just like this. Like maybe you've walked into the ice box, the walk-in cooler or freezer, and all of a sudden you feel calm and cool and capable, right? There are absolutely reasons why people say you need to cool down, because literally cool temperatures help your brain make better decisions. I have lots of ice packs in here, which I know I've shown you for all sorts of reasons. But let your brain think about how good it feels to let those sensations that you would like to feel take over. Let your unconscious mind think about how good it is to let the sensations that you would like to experience become your automatic. When you find yourself having decided, I want to feel this thing as strongly as I can and then I make it feel better, or I don't want to feel this thing, so I'm going to take it down. All the things that you've used to go from here to here, you can anchor then, but you don't have to do it there. You can tell your brain, I'm going to put it up here. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to draw a little circle on my chest, and I'm going to be like, no, I'm totally centered. This is exactly where I wanted and needed to be. I'm going to just keep tapping my chest while I talk, because I think the sound is also kind of interesting and maybe a little ASMR-y. So you can let your brain get to that point where it just keeps going, yes, I like that feeling, I like that sensation, I like being in this space that's centered. It doesn't have to be centered for anybody else, literally just for you. Let your unconscious mind think about what's best for you at all times. And if you, on a conscious level, don't like or don't understand why you find yourself doing something, ask your unconscious mind to make it different. You can give it some specifics like we've done today, or you can find yourself thinking about how good it feels to be in that position of determining what it is that you really want to experience. Now, I don't usually say good boy, David, but I do like good toy. I like good pet. I like good job. I like when people have the ability to know that they themselves are valued, that they are worthy, that they have done something I like, something worthwhile, something that I think is good and that hopefully they can see as good too. I think people can do and be good at whatever it is that they like. Might be Might require some practice, but that's all right, right? Practice is the thing that helps us become better at a thing. So when we practice and we become better at things, you know it requires feedback, right? A friend of mine was doing a new pattern for a quilt today, a new thing she had never done, and she has high ambitions. So she started doing something tiny. You know what? It looks good, but she also messed it up. And that's okay, because she's getting the basics down. And she can see when she's made mistakes. Sometimes you can't always see when you've made a mistake. Sometimes you don't always know. So you need feedback. But if you can give yourself feedback, if you can critically examine the things you've done, you can know that you can find yourself always doing a better job at something, and that doesn't diminish who you are as a person. You can always be a good person. So let your brain think about how good that feels. To be the best you can be at any given moment, to work towards being even better internally or externally for yourself or for others, whichever way works best for you. Better at things, better at actions, better at thoughts, better all the way around, the best you can be at any given moment. Let your brain think about what that means and how you can get there. And let your unconscious mind just enjoy where you are, because if you don't like where you are, even if you are working towards something else, it can be hard to really let your brain make those changes for any positive purpose. So let your brain enjoy where you are right now and realize that you can always make things a little bit better for yourself and with yourself and by yourself. Hold on to those thoughts. You can stare at the shiny, you can hear the sounds, and you can find yourself coming back on 10, feeling really great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All the way back. I'll see if I can find some other sounds for next week. I'll see if I can bring in something more entertaining. I have something I want to show you. Something that I think your brains will enjoy. And in the meantime, I hope that whatever you find yourself doing, you have a good time with it, that you get more out of it, that if you play around with ASMR stuff, that you have a great time and all the tingles. So I'm going to say goodbye. I will talk to you again, or I plan to be here again next week. So I will see you then. Bye.